All right, everybody. We had a pretty good chapter, huh? Pretty good chapter. You might notice something in the background. We don't need to make a big deal out of it or anything like that, but something over there in the background. Who notices what's in the background? Tell me what you see in the background. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. No, forget the Shanks post. The Shanks poster was up for too long. What else is there? What beyond not what's missing? What is new that is there in the background? What is new? What's a new thing? Something that wasn't there before. Yeah, the shelves. Good job, Wade Turner. All right, we got the shelves. The shelves. That's what's new in the background, right? Forget the poster. The poster is gone. That poster is never coming back. All right. Yeah, the shelves. The shelves. Right? All right. It's not a big deal. It's not a bit. Let's not all make a big deal out of it. We don't need to talk about it the whole stream. That they're shelves now. It's not a huge deal. All right. Let's just calm down. I'm joking. Of course, the shelves are a huge deal. Everybody. Okay. All right. What? I know you guys can't continue your excitement either. The shelves are. It's a game changer. I know there's nothing on the shelves just yet, but it's just a whole new era now that we've got the shelves. Max Rain, welcome to the Yonko. Thank you for supporting the shelves. I know that's why you joined. The reason that there's nothing on the shelves, the poster, there's a new poster going up. Well, actually, it won't be a new poster. It'll be one of the older posters. Just gonna run a quick poll, gauge the temperature real quick. There will be stuff on the shelf soon, but the reason that there's not stuff on the shelves just yet is simply because, yeah, some support for the new shelves. That's what I like to see. All right, good stuff. Oh no, the poll's getting close. We gotta end it. All right. Nothing to see here. Just a clear majority preferring the shelves over the chapter. Not to say the chapter wasn't great, the shelves are just that good. Alright, let's talk about the chapter though, because we've talked about the shelves enough, I would say. We can talk about them more in the future. There are things that are going to go up on the shelves. It's just complicated right now. Because I have a bookshelf out in the living room area, and I could take stuff from there and put it over here. But then the bookshelf out there would look empty, and then people would walk in and be like, Morj, are you like illiterate? And I'd be like, no, it's complicated, there's new shelves, and it would just be a whole thing, right? So, I need to get some other stuff, basically. And there's going to be another poster replacing the Shanks poster in a second. But, let's talk about the chapter. Because this was, in fact, the greatest One Piece chapter that we've had in... I don't even know how long. Because we've been saying this for a bit, right? It's hard to even properly measure these things against one another at this point. Because it's like, the Saturn chapter was insane. Then the first chapter of Kuma's flashback was insane. And then this chapter of Kuma's flashback was insane. And I get that we're not getting all of God Valley just yet, but it's okay, right? It's okay because I think what was satisfying for me to see is that we already saw a bit more of the Roger Rocks stuff, Roger Rocks pirate stuff than I would have expected. I kind of was thinking that it's very possible we don't even really get to see, Shiki or Wang Ji or Captain John. Like, I thought we might just see silhouettes or something like that. But the fact that we're getting, I guess, a bit of focus and dialogue for each of them, and they're clearly all involved, and they're clear, like, to me it feels the fact that even just in Kuma's flashback, the fact that we got such a spotlight put on the Rocks Pirates, it makes me feel like when we get an extended flashback specifically for the God Valley incident, specifically for Roger, Rocks, and Garp, it's going to be even more in-depth than we were previously expecting. Let me catch up on supers real quick. Goomba Boomba, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 13 months. I want to give Kuma a hug along with the shelves. Yeah, also you got to plop the Morj plush on there. Yeah, the Morj plush is definitely going on there, because there's nowhere else that it needs to be. That's the only spot that it really should be, right? Best chapter since 1044 or 1060. What was 1060? Am I crazy? What was 1060? Was 1060 when Emu blows up the island, or was it the Cross Guild chapter? What was 1060? Anyone want to refresh me on 1060? I feel like 1058, 1059, 1060 must have been Emu using Uranus or something like that. I assume. The chapter I would say is the best chapter since Wano would probably be. It's too hard. We would need to look through a bunch of options. I feel like writing-wise, I really still enjoyed the entire Hachinosu raid. But Kuma's flashback is already right there, you know? We just need to close out Kuma's story. And then we can kind of evaluate it. Alright, let me catch up on supers real quick. And let's get the stream likes up to 200. Let's get the stream likes up to 200. Noah Phillips, thanks for the 5. I finished Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm the guy you spoiled. Just wow, man. Just wow. I'm sorry I spoiled you. What do you mean you finished? You caught up to Jujutsu Kaisen? You caught up, right? It's not finished, right? As far as I know. Alright. Good stuff. You caught up. Keenan, thanks for the 2. What a time to be alive and reading One Piece. Yeah, this is the best One Piece has been weekly reading for me since Marineford. Since Marineford, easily. Batman for real, thanks for the 5. Every time Garling is in a chapter, he's killing someone. Alright, it's fucked up because Garling's a really fucked up character, but Garling looks really fucking cool, doesn't he? Like, anytime Garling's doing some stuff, he just, he looks pretty badass, you know? If he wasn't a celestial dragon and one of the shittiest celestial dragons, he'd probably be a fan favorite. Formless, welcome to Pirate King tier. By the way, if those of you are interested, Pirate King tier is when there's a monthly podcast Yonko tier, there's a weekly podcast. Pirate King tier, you get that podcast plus a monthly podcast. That monthly podcast is one in which all Pirate King tier members submit questions, and I basically answer everything that everybody submits. In fairly in-depth fashion. It'll be an hour-long podcast. This next one is around the corner, so if you're interested in submitting questions, getting to hear this month's Pirate King tier podcast, you can join right now, and the submission sheet for questions for that will be going up this Monday. Monday would be the 30th, I think, right? And then, I'd get the podcast out in the next couple days. So, watch out for that, and definitely join that if you like, and, Bassem El Madawi, thanks for the 5. Shout out to Edward. Yeah, Edward Newgate. Morj, look up Nami when she was connecting maps in Skypiea and compare her to Ginny. Okay, I know that when Nami, she put on some glasses or something like that in Skypiea, if I remember, which is the only time I can recall Nami wearing glasses. That is a funny callback. I just don't think that there's, or like a funny comparison, I just don't think that they're related in any way, personally. This chapter made Eva and Marineford so tragic. Yeah, Eva is a great character. Eva really is a great character. Eva was great in Impel Down and Marineford. I think Eva was especially a breath of fresh air in Impel Down because Luffy was at such a low point and they felt so helpless and stuck, yada yada yada. And then there's this crazy wacky character, Ivankov, who helps them bust out of there. Sleeping Danger, thanks a lot. Worst gen not surpassing old gen, narrator lied. I don't think I feel like that's more so I feel like that's more so this idea that the new gen surpasses the old gen, right? I feel like that's more so a Naruto thing, because it's preached so much in Naruto that people think that it was said somewhere in One Piece. That's never said in One Piece. It's never said in One Piece that the new generation is always stronger than the old. That's only said in Naruto. In One Piece, they talk about the new generation and how the new generation is going to challenge the old generation and stuff, and how kind of like the time of the older generation is leaving, and the time of the new generation is starting in the new era, right? They say stuff like that, but it's never this mantra that's preached that, oh, the new generation always surpasses the old. That's in Naruto. Everybody mixes it up with Naruto. Kid is never going to be stronger than any of those fucking rocks pirates. Maybe that's an exaggeration right there. But Kid and Law, you know, like, to compare them to the likes of fucking Whitebeard, Kaido, Big Mom, it's a joke. You know, the only new generation figures that will, in my opinion, be on par with like the old generation legends or surpass them are Luffy, Zoro, Blackbeard. That's it. Yeah, it's those guys. Shanks if you count him. But yeah, it's pretty much them. Unless Oda's got something really crazy planned for Kid, like some crazy ass turnaround that's like some insane story arc for Kid. I just think that that's basically the way it is. Wait a second, random question. Hold on. What blue is Kid from? South blue. Alright, just a random thing. But yeah, it's just a Naruto thing. Aaron says Roger said Luffy would surpass him. Yeah, but that's not the new generation surpassing them. Like that's a Naruto idea. The idea that yeah, some characters are going to come along who will surpass Roger, that's been talked about for sure, right? The idea that the old generation, their time is closing and it's time for a new generation to come in, that's been talked about, sure. But the idea that the new generation always surpasses the old generation, that is only a line in Naruto. And they say it's so much in Naruto that people have confused it as being a theme or idea in One Piece, which it's not. Leo Recto, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 7 months. Would you rather lose 3 in off your part, or this doesn't even make sense. Would you rather lose 3 in off your part, or always eat your okay, 3 or always eat your most hated food for the rest of your life? I don't understand this. 3 in off your part. Also, I think Straw Hat / Rocks feels more similar than Straw Hat / Roger. Straw Hats and Rocks feel... No, the Straw Hats are like a crew. The Rocks Pirates are just like a bunch of like... It's just a mishmash of characters that don't even like each other, that are just on the same squad for convenience sake. It's the total opposite of the Straw Hat Pirates. The Roger Pirates are a crew, you know? Like, they care about each other as far as we can tell. The whole point is that the Rocks Pirates just don't get along, which is the opposite of the Straw Hat crew. 3 inches off your part. 3 inches off your part? Oh, okay. I get it. I just never heard it phrased that way. Off my part. Okay. That or lose or have to eat my most hated food every meal for the rest of my life. I'd lose the 3 inches. You would go insane. Like, I think people don't understand. You would go insane, having to eat the food that you hate the most for every single meal of your life. Was that the 2 options? Eat your most hated food for the rest of your life. Yeah, those are the 2 options. You would just go insane. You would want to kill yourself after a bit. All powerful God Anil, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 7 months, man. Hey, Morj, will Emu get a flashback? Maybe that way we can see the Void Sentry firsthand. Will Emu get a flashback? I think his flashback would be part of the Void Sentry flashback, so I'd leave it at that. Yeah, I think we'd be fine with at least getting that much. Like, we need some context on him, but I don't need him to be a sympathetic villain necessarily. One sec. Okay. Joyboy56, thanks for the 2. Get a Mihawk poster to replace Shanks. Get a Mihawk poster to replace Shanks. The poster I'm probably gonna use to, like, I'm just gonna use the classic poster. Well, you'll see in a second. You'll see. I think so next week's streams will be in the basement jail that you guys refer to, because I'm gonna be in Maryland at my parents' house for 1 week. There's a wedding that I'm gonna go be in town for. But when I come back, so 2 Mondays from now, hopefully I'll have the background more set up, and there'll be a new poster there. It'll be a poster you guys have seen before, but it's a popular one. Or I might get a new... I don't know. We'll see. Omarua, thanks a lot. I was wrong about Wang Ji. Oda didn't even show him. Didn't he? Wasn't Wang Ji that dude with the beard? Am I crazy? Caleb Brown, thanks for the 2. So many people saying the chapter bad because blue balls. The chapter was great. Like, I get that we didn't get everything that we... Okay, I think it's a win-win, because we wanted to see part of the Rocks flashback, right? But the way it's being done right now, Like, before I was like, okay, if we're getting the full God Valley flashback here, it'll probably be a little bit rushed because you want to keep the narrative to Kuma and keep Kuma as the central focus. So we probably won't get to go that in depth with Roger and Rox. What we saw this chapter already gave us a really good look at Rox and Roger and his crew and Garp and everything. And it's being saved for later. So to me, that means that we are going to get all of that, but we're going to get it more in depth and just hyper focused on that part of the flashback on its own. So turns out this is a teaser, but it's a good sign of things to come in that we're going to get a more focused flashback than we otherwise would have if we'd gotten it right now, because right now it would have had to been pretty bare bones and move along fairly quickly to keep the focus on Kuma. Does that make sense? Let's get the stream lights up to 200 real quick. Let's get it to 200. Jake Cash's no egg in chapter. Don't you worry about that. Wait till next week's video. I talk about it a bit. Duck20, thanks for the 2. Moria gonna be important for Final Saga, I think. Yeah, because a lot of the Rocks pirates are on Thriller Bark, as many have noticed. Sleeping Danger, thanks a lot. Young Neon, greater than Hancock. Let's not get into this. We also don't have... we just don't have a ton of context on, like, I think we didn't clearly get to see some designs super close up, I guess. Like, Bakin was drawn kind of small and such, but she looked like Stussy. Some of the, I'm sure we'll get to see more of young Neon later on. Reo Chia, thanks for the 2. Who had Gloriosa on their bingo card? I had Shaki. I'm so confused right now, because I thought that, because Shaki was also a pirate 40 years ago or so, right? Shaki was also a pirate, so it's like, isn't that a little confusing? So you got Gloria, like, you got, like, am I crazy timeline-wise? Because, one, so here's the things about Shaki, right? One, she was also a pirate 40 years ago, supposedly. I think that's what she said. And then two, someone asked Oda in an SBS the connection between Shaki and Rocks, and Oda strongly hinted that there was a connection there. So it was like, Shaki would make perfect sense to have been on Rocks, but it's Gloriosa. So it's like, what's going on there? Interesting. Uwu, thanks for the 5. It's fine in my opinion if we don't get an extended flashback. It keeps the mystique. Look at Star Wars and Harry Potter as bad examples of too much. Harry Potter? Are you talking about, like, Fantastic Beasts? I could see that. In Star Wars, I could see that, but those aren't, like, the prequels, but those are generally considered hurting the franchise because the filmmaking was bad. I mean, Fantastic Beasts, I actually had fun watching the first Fantastic Beasts movie. I watched it on a plane. I didn't see any of the others, but I just took it as lighthearted fun. Didn't think it's that great, but it was fun. Star Wars prequels, those are bad, but that's just because the writing and the writing was really bad, and the acting and such. Like, this is all still Oda. It's still the same person. The same person who's doing the Kuma flashback is the same, like, although obviously that was still George Lucas, but you get what I'm saying. Like, there was clearly, like, some time apart. His wife wasn't a part of the prequels, and his wife was a huge part of why the original movies were good. There's a lot of factors that changed, right? Lots of times when you revisit a franchise in film and try and do a prequel, it can be bad, but this is totally different. This is just a flashback, you know what I mean? Like, Oda's really good at flashbacks. I don't think Oda's ever had a bad flashback. Every flashback has only ever enhanced the story. So getting an extended flashback, I think that's something that is at this point too teased to not deliver on. And on top of that, we've gotten extra details out of this chapter that kind of need to be expanded on in this flashback, right? Because now we understand that there's a big treasure that was stolen. That's why the characters are here. You need to break down why that is. You need to kind of explain what's this 1 year timeline that Roger's talking about. Did he lose to Rocks previously? Like, Oda's already planting in more details that need to be fleshed out. Angel Rays, thanks for the 5. The end of this chapter warmed the fuck out of my heart. I was on the verge of tears after that blue ball again. Yeah, the Kuma parts of the flashback are really, really strong so far. Like, the rock stuff was an amazing highlight, but my favorite part was Kuma's conversation with Saturn, and even the post-God Valley stuff with just exploring Kuma's new mission in life, his new mentality, stuff like that. Kuma's turning out to be a phenomenal character. I could see this turning out, depending on how Oda sticks to landing, I could see this being my favorite flashback in One Piece. The Lorax, thanks for the 5. Kind of low of Oda to blue ball us. I don't think that's... No, but we will get the God Valley flashback is what it's looking like. Just not now. We'll get it in a context where we can sit down and focus more on it, which would be better. But maybe it makes more sense for God Valley to be a Shanks and or Blackbeard flashback. I feel like Garp is the best vehicle to explore that at this point. Amelia the Hand, thanks for the 5. More, do you think Zoro can defeat Garling and usurp his title as world's strongest racist? No, Zoro already has that title. He doesn't need to usurp anything. Goomba Boomba, thanks for the 5. Unknowingly, all bubbles he pushed out of people to heal them is accumulating and it will burst, thus inflicting pain to the entire country equals Tyrant Kuma. That's a funny theory. I mean, funny, I don't know. I guess not funny, but that is a pretty dark theory. I mean, like, if you think about the beats of Kuma's story that we still need to see, we need to see him become a king. We can kind of see that path taking place, that trajectory, because the people of Sorbet Kingdom seem to be really liking him right now. Then we need to see him become a revolutionary and then also a pirate. And then finally going back to the Marines and, like, giving up his mind, etc. So there's several steps more to Kuma's flashback. Montag451, thanks for the 20. Thanks a lot for the 20, man. There's a guy with the same Wolverine claws as Blackbeard in the shot with all the Rocks pirates. Yeah, I saw this on Twitter. My wacky theory is that that's Blackbeard's father, and that's how he has all of the knowledge he does. It's a stretch, but why not? Sure, I guess maybe that random 3-clawed guy. It is the same weapon that Blackbeard has. Disaster Master, thanks for the 2. Also caught up to Jujutsu Kaisen. 236 writing was fraudulent. I'm just, we're not going to talk about it here. But, you know, I understand a lot of people have similar opinions. Emperor Beast Kaido, thanks for the 5. The Summit War Saga, in hindsight, is getting crazy when it comes to the Joy Boy Nika theme. Yeah, I feel like once we get through a lot of this, we'll be able to really look back at some of the pivotal moments in One Piece and just put it in the context of, like, how many characters knew about the lore and the secrets and everything like that, and how does that change our perspective on a lot of their actions and what they were talking about in the past. Javon Johnson, thanks for the 5. I really appreciate how, since the introduction of Gear 5th, Oda has balanced the silliness of that with some of the darkest shit in One Piece to date. Yeah, I mean, Gear 5th alone is not going to change Oda's overall writing style. It's more so how it, like, you know, in the context of Gear 5th fights. But I will say that, like, in lots of moments, Gear 5th's wackiness is definitely going to be welcome, because I imagine that we're going to finish this flashback and cut back to the present with a lot of tragedy and all of that stuff, like, weighing very heavily on our heads, on our hearts, whatever you want to say. We're probably going to be in, you know, like, really fucking sad, depressed, teary, whatever. We're going to be really pissed at the Celestial Dragons, I'm sure, and we'll get to cut back to the present with all of those feelings, and then probably get to see Luffy basically turn all of that upside down, because I assume that the next time we cut back to the present, we're going to get to see Luffy become Nika again, right? Exactly the same thing that Kuma was hoping for, the thing that he told Bonnie about, yada, 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 and probably kick Saturn's ass. And I think that'll be very satisfying to see Luffy basically turn all of that darkness on its head, and just, you know, uplift spirits with his style of fighting and what he brings to the table. So I think there's a, you know, as long as the flow of the story goes well, Gear 5th can be really welcome at certain moments for sure. Named, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 13 months, man. I appreciate it. If the Gods Knights are the same people from God Valley to now, is there gonna be an almost old head enemy arc with them and the 5 elders? Bunch of strong, Lao-G looking mofos. Okay, the Gods Knights, I think that I feel like they're going to be dealt with prior to the 5 elders, just because the way it was being phrased by Dragon is that the Gods Knights are being mobilized now to go out to the Blue Seas now to fight against the revolutionaries and all that right now. Whereas the Gorosei, for the most part, aside from Saturn, are pretty much all staying holed up at Marijua. So I feel like the Gods Knights will be used first for fights and everything like that leading up to the battle against Marijua, but the Gorosei would still be the final bosses. Garling, however, I assume as the leader of the Gods Knights, is probably just as strong as any of the Gorosei, I imagine, or you know, I don't know how you scale that, but, like, he's probably also a top tier type character. I mean, he looks like Shanks before Shanks, basically. Jade FW, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 11 months. I'm happy to see a lot of Pirate King support. Honestly, I really hope you guys enjoy the next podcast. And again, the submissions thing will go up next Monday, so watch out for that. Man, love this chapter. Having read the series for like 15 years, I've forgotten how attached I am to characters like Kuma and Ivankov. I mean, I'm seeing them in a totally different light at this point, because Kuma's personality, it was hinted at, his true personality, it was hinted at, but what we're seeing, it feels so different from the Kuma that I remember from Thriller Bark and the first time around at Tsubodi. It just feels like a different person. So I'm going to enjoy getting to go back and reread parts with this new image of Kuma in my mind and understanding what his character actually is and kind of putting all that into context. So cool to see Oda giving folks like them his A game storytelling wise. You know what? You know what's crazy though is what I'm realizing is that all these characters, right? Kuma, Ivankov, like all the characters that we're getting more focus on nowadays. Kuma, Ivankov, Kizaru, Sentamaru, Garp, Aokiji. These are all the characters that ultimately Oda probably had the most storytelling ideas in mind for in the first place, right? Like these are the major figures of the story that he was planting and setting up all along. So that down the line in the final saga, like these are the characters that he was probably waiting to write about the most, right? It's all these other arcs in between that Oda's coming up with probably his more short-term ideas, I suppose. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's like, okay, I have some new ideas for some characters. Let's spin it into Dressrosa arc or something like that. Or let's spin it into... Let's see how I can fit some of these ideas into Whole Cake Island or something. Like, I imagine someone like Katakuri was not someone that Oda had in mind from the beginning of the story. You know what I mean? That's not... And I imagine, like, the Red Scabbards, right? He came up with a lot of those as time went on. Initially, there weren't even supposed to be 9. It was a much smaller number. But the characters that have been around for the longest time, right? Revolutionaries, Shanks, Admirals, these type of characters, right? That we've known for so long, that have been set up for so long. Oda set them up for a reason. It's probably because he's had the best stories in mind for them that he's been wanting to show us for the longest time. So I don't think it's even so much that, like, oh, he's exercising his A game on them. It's like they always were the end game, like the A game. All the other stories that he told leading up to now were things that he came up with more so along the way, I imagine. Emperor Beast Kaido, thanks for the... No, we covered this. Javon Johnson, no, covered this. Vanilla Thunder, thanks for the 5. Hey Morj, the Hands of Liberation will be used to start/sound/beat the drums of liberation. I mean, I still like the idea that somebody, I think his name was Rodolfo, came through on stream like weeks back and said that Kuma will arrive at Egghead Island, revive Luffy by pushing the pain out of him. So, Kuma would, for a moment, basically be, I guess, visually beating the drum by like pushing the pain out of Luffy. I mean, we literally saw him use that ability just this chapter, so I imagine it will come into play at this point. Also, I suspect we'll dive deeper into God Valley and Elbaf. I'd like to think that it might even be before Elbaf, perhaps with, if we cut away to Blackbeard and Garp and them having a conversation, we could get a flashback there. What's interesting is that Pudding has the memory fruit, so she could even pull out the memories from Garp or something like that, or be made to pull out the memories from Garp by Blackbeard. Flitch, thanks for the 5. Hey, Morj the stream. Kuma's gonna come back to Egghead, expel all of his pain on Saturn, and nuke the heck out of Egghead. Pedro-like sacrifice. I still think we need to see Luffy be the one to beat up Saturn. I think it's just gotta be... Like, the setup just feels like it's gotta be Nika that does it. And Kuma's Pedro-like sacrifice would be the same thing as what Pedro did, which would be giving Luffy a chance to fight, right? Doing something to help the Straw Hats, and then the Straw Hats will take care of it from there. So I don't know if he's gonna nuking the heck out of Egghead. That'd be cool, but I think ultimately Saturn has got to be taken down by Luffy, in my opinion. Stratosphere Surfer, thanks for the 5. Been to Disney. Oda has. Thunder Mountain equals visual for God Valley. Splash Mountain equals content of God Valley hunting rabbits. Space Mountain equals Egghead. Okay, this is just... Once we're like getting to the point where we're like using Disney World to try and predict One Piece, I just think it's to me that's such a reach upon a reach upon a reach. Mark Hogan, thanks a lot. Beard Dude can't be Wang Zi because Beard Dude was a zombie in Thriller Bark, yet Wang Zi is alive and was involved at the Rocky Port incident. Oh wait, yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. I totally forgot about that. Wait, let me take a look again. I literally forgot about that. All right, let's look at this chapter again. So Beard Dude's just some dude. That's not Wang Zi. Wait, where's Wang Zi? And I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that name correctly, but which one is he? None of these are Wang Zi as far as I can tell. I guess Wang Zi must be the guy who's kind of shaded, right? Underneath the guy with the gladiator helmet and the beard that I thought was Wang Zi. Is that him? I feel like that's gotta be him. You think that guy's silver? Okay. But there was a guy in Thriller Bark that was also wielding a silver. Okay, yeah. So who the fuck is Wang Zi then? We don't know. That's the answer. Cameron Thomas, thanks for the 5. After God Valley, the Celestial Dragons stopped their hunts. I think that's likely. They started giving slaves devil fruits and making them fight. That's how Hancock got her fruit. Yeah, I think that seems very likely at this point. Like, you know, you wouldn't go back down again for, like, after you basically had this happen, you know? Because for the Celestial Dragons, this was probably basically 9/11 for Celestial Dragons, right? Also, let's get the stream likes up to 300 real quick. Stratosphere Surfer, thanks for the 5. Haunted Mansion equals Thriller Bark. It's a small world. No, Dude, I'm so not behind. It's a small world. It's a small world equals Toddleland, etc., etc. Disney Japan has something called Mystery Island connections to One Piece. I just can't get behind any of this because it's like, yeah, you can find, like, yes, Oda has many references to Disney and other stories, many miscellaneous stories throughout One Piece, but you can't, like, Whole Cake Island, The Seducing Woods, it references Alice in Wonderland a lot. But in no way does that mean that the actual plot and story of Whole Cake Island heavily mirrors Alice in Wonderland. It just doesn't. It's just small references. In some cases, Oda does go pretty hard on trying to tie stories to be very similar. Like the story of Momotaro does mirror the story of Wano fairly tightly. But in lots of other cases, Oda will just throw in a Disney reference and it really doesn't mean anything else. Dynamic, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 8 months. Kuma knew how to use his fruit after eating it, yet Law couldn't. Yeah, because Law is a bum, and people forget that. Law is truly a talentless bum, carried by a broken fruit. And he is one of the few characters that basically never had to learn any sort of advanced haki, but is still able to hold his own against, you know, strong characters, purely because he has a broken-ass fruit that would be absolutely busted in the hands of anyone who is a competent fighter. If Kuma had the Opia fruit, Corazon would have lived. Yeah, scale issue for Law. Yeah, I'm 100% on board with everything you just said. Titanium Dragon, thanks for the 5. How far back do you think the story of Amazon Lily is, considering that Gloriosa is on the rocks? Do you think Lily formed Amazon? Lily? No, I don't think Lily formed Amazon Lily. I think Amazon, like, how far back it goes, who knows? It's just it's an old island. Some islands we need to know how far back they went. Like, does it matter how far back Drum Kingdom goes? I don't know. Right now we can only trace back 3 generations of Amazon Empresses, but, you know, I don't know if we're going to go further and further back from that. I don't know if Lily, I think Lily forming Amazon Lily, I mean, she's the queen of Alabasta. I feel like Lily disappeared whenever Imu wanted her to disappear. Also, CG equals rocks. I don't know what that means. What does CG equals rocks mean? Can anyone explain that? CG equals rocks? Oh, let's get the stream likes up to 300 real quick. Spirit of Adventures is the Law hate is crazy, Morj. It's okay. It's okay. Law is strong, alright? Law is a strong character. Law hate is not that serious. It just sounds serious, but yeah, Law's a pretty strong character, if that's what you want to hear. JK Kane says Rockstrew would go 82-0 and win 10 championships. Yeah, I mean that's the most stacked crew we're ever gonna see in One Piece, including probably Prime Luffy's crew. Even Prime Straw Hats, I just don't see beating that Rocks crew. It's too much. It's too much. Because if you go like 5 characters down, like 5 or 6 characters deep in Rox's crew, it's like you got like Kaido, you know, like Kaido, or like Wang Ji or someone, you know. If you go down that deep in Luffy's crew, you've got like Frankie, and that's no offense to Frankie whatsoever. That's great, but it's just like Rox's crew is just too stacked. Patricia Zambrano, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 7 months, man. When Kuma dies, he's gonna destroy everyone after this. When Kuma dies, he's gonna destroy everyone after this amazing flashback. Yeah, I hope that Oda. I hope we get a few more chapters out of it. Like I like the flashbacks that usually hit me the hardest are the ones where Oda really takes his time. I hope we don't montage through too much of it because the scenes that we get to linger on so far have really made me like Kuma. Kind of annoyed that they didn't show the whole God Valley incident. I just don't think now's the time. I like the fact that they didn't show it just because it means that the fact that we got so much focus on the Rocks Pirates this chapter and we got such a clear view of them, their personalities, the dynamic, and like hints at significant plot points like Rocks and Roger's 1-year dynamic, the great treasure that was stolen from Hachinosu, all of that suggests to me that we're going to get a very in-depth, not very in-depth, but a decently in-depth flashback for God Valley that's focused on Roger, Rocks, and I suppose Garp down the line, right? In retrospect, it's probably better that Oda's not trying to rush that in the context of Kuma's backstory. So I would rather that we get something a little bit more elaborate later and focus on Kuma mainly right now, than try and stuff that into Kuma's backstory and not, and then ultimately not do justice to either side of those two things, you know? So I'm on board with that. Stratosphere Surfer says, look it up later. Remember the Stratosphere Surfer. All right, I will consider maybe looking it up later, but I have to be honest, I probably won't. JK Kane, yeah, we covered you. Talha, thanks for the 2. Wings will 100% be Yonko level or else... Wings will 100% be Yonko... Oh, yeah, Zoro and Sanji. Yeah, will be Yonko level or else Roger/Rocks greater than Strides. I mean, I just think that the Rocks Pirates are not meant to be passed up as a pirate. I don't know if even the Strides... If you count the Strides and all their allies in the future, then that'll probably be bigger than the Rocks Pirates, you know? Because if you throw in all their allies, then you've got, like, Yamato. Holy shit, you guys hear that? Car racing down the street. Yeah, then they have, like, Yamato, Marco, Boa Hancock. Like, a lot of strong characters. And I agree, I think Zoro and Sanji... Zoro definitely will be Yonko level by the end. I think Sanji will be... You know, the sad thing I gotta say about Sanji is that I think he will... By the end of the series, I think he'll be in a spot where it will be a great debate as to whether or not he is Yonko level. You know what I mean? Like, the same way that we're in a spot right now where people debate, could Sanji beat King, right? Like, is Sanji stronger than King? Is Sanji first mate level or whatever? I got Sanji over Shiryu, I'll just tell you guys that much right now. But, you know, first mate level in the sense, like, is Sanji stronger than King, Marco, stuff like that? I think it'll be, like, there's a debate to be had either way. I think that's where Sanji will be at the end of the story in terms of what we view as Yonko level. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure Sanji will get a good win, but not necessarily something so decisive that people are like, oh, he would definitely be Yonko level or not. You know what I mean? So I think that's just the fate of Sanji throughout the rest of the story. You know? I think that's just his fate. that's just what he's fated to be. I guess kind of like even if you went back to pre-time skip, like people might have, I wasn't involved enough in like forum discussions back then, but I wonder if like during the Sabaody arc were people arguing whether Sanji was supernova level even though his bounty wasn't quite there, you know? Stuff like that. I feel like Sanji's just always going to be in that awkward spot where it's like, yeah, you got an argument here or there, but it's not conclusive, and that's just the problem with scaling that character. Or the problem that comes with debating Sanji. Formless, thanks a lot. Justin Holland, good to see you. Thanks for the 5. Elbaf could be a training/lore dump/alliance convergence arc in preparation for the final war of the seas, including the fated meeting of father/son. I'm still on the train of like Elbaf being more important for Luffy and Shanks than something like Luffy and Dragon. So for me, I just don't know. I like the idea that Elbaf is still an arc of conflict rather than some training arc. And I don't even like the idea of the Strats needing a training arc from here on. I like the idea that they've done most of the training they need to do, and from here on it's just going to be harder and harder battles. Oh, let's get the stream likes up to 400 real quick. Okay, Nicholas Mufua says, if you're gonna be in MD, try jerk at night in Silver Spring area if you like Jamaican food. I don't know if I've ever even had Jamaican food, to be honest. And who do you think we would get the rest of... Oh, who do I think we would get the rest of the God Valley flashback through? I've said this before earlier this stream, but I think Garp is the best candidate because Garp is the only other first-hand witness of God Valley that we've got on hand right now as a major relevant character. 2, it's very likely that Blackbeard having Garp in his possession would grill Garp about God Valley. Or maybe it could be a conversation between Garp and Aokiji where Garp explains what happened in God Valley or something. We don't know. But Garp has the most inside knowledge with God Valley at the moment, right? And 3, even if Garp doesn't want to spill the beans, Pudding exists, and Pudding's whole ability is drawing out memories, so Blackbeard could make Pudding pull out Garp's memories, for example. I think that Pudding's memory ability is funny because it's almost never come into play in the story in a meaningful way. It was used once with Reiju to erase Reiju's memory, but that's such a minor plot point. Like, that could have been done, like, silencing Reiju could have been done so many different ways. So it's more like, man, being able to draw out memories, that's a big deal. What else could that be used for, you know? The other aspect of it is also, she used it with Sanji, but that was just to erase a kiss, which is not, again, a major plot point. So I feel like Pudding's memory ability should come into play in some, like, it's perfect for flashbacks, right? It will come into play most likely in some major way. Jafar Edits, thanks a lot. Can we get a Jujutsu Kaisen video in your other channel? The other it's on hold. It's on hold for a while. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on that manga. If I'm being honest, if I were to go back to Manga Morj right now, Jujutsu Kaisen would not be one of the top series that I want to... I just don't have a lot of meaningful things to say about it. I think it's a solid, fun series. I think it does some things well. I think it's definitely entertaining. It's good at stirring up interest in fights, that's for sure. But there's not a ton I want to say, because I don't think it's that innovative of a story overall. But I don't think it's bad. I just don't think I have a ton to say. And obviously it has themes and stuff, but just not ones that I think are so interesting that I want to talk about, and not ones that are presented or written into the story in such an interesting way that I think it's worth delving into, for me personally. I'm sure there are plenty of other people who like talking about Jujutsu Kaisen that might have much more to say about it than I do. SMX Wing, thanks a lot for the 5. Theory, Shanks and Buggy joined Roger at God Valley as babies. That's a weird way to phrase it. Joined Roger at God Valley as babies. One a celestial dragon and the other a slave. Both are the same age and would make their relationship more meaningful. Yeah, I mean, Shanks was literally found at God Valley by Roger in a treasure chest. That's confirmed by Oda. I think it would be great if Buggy was also found there as well. I think that would be cool. And yeah, if Buggy's Buggy was a slave baby or something, that would be a nice little contrast. Nerve and V-Maker, thanks for the 5. What if the nothing happened moment convinced Kuma that Luffy was Nika, and Kuma sacrificed his freedom to save him, so Nika could save everyone else? I don't know if it would be the nothing happened moment specifically, but I do think, like, generally what Kuma saw with Luffy's crew, with Luffy himself, like, Kuma saw the events of Thriller Bark. He saw Luffy throughout Thriller Bark as well. And Kuma's generally been keeping tabs on Luffy. And I definitely think that, Kuma... I do think the last part, that Kuma sacrificed his freedom to save him so Nika could save everyone else. Oh, I see what you're saying. Like, do you think that Kuma... No, but Kuma was sacrificing his freedom even before meeting Luffy. You know, like, he was already partway through the process of being turned into a robot. So whatever caused Kuma to start giving up his functions was something even prior to that. Scum Zuma, thanks for the 2. Roger needs a good damn story to side with trash. Oh, to side with Celestial Dragons? I think we're gonna get what there's clearly layers to the Oda to what Oda's writing with Roger and Rox, because we've got already it's established. I love this part of the chapter, by the way, where it's established that it's not just like Roger's coming in out of the blue. There's a story to Roger and Rox's dynamic, because Roger's saying this goes back 1 year. Something happened between the two of them. It sounds like between the two of them, right? But at least related to everything that's going on in the island. Like, Roger had a story. He didn't just come in to God Valley as this, as this guy out of nowhere and took down Rox or whatever, the strongest part of his time. There was a journey for Roger to get here, and Roger experienced some shortcoming or something like that 1 year back, maybe in a way like Luffy did at Marineford or something. We don't know, not maybe to the same degree, but like there's a story there for Roger that got him to this point, and I like the fact that he's carrying something, some sort of burden, some sort of internal pain or something like that heading into this conflict, and it's almost like he's trying to make amends or resolve something that has been left as an unresolved plot point for him, or like meaningful character storyline for him. So I really like that setup, and that's why I'm so excited that the Rock storyline is being saved for another point, because it seems like it's going to be even more elaborate and in-depth than previously expected. On top of that, there's this whole treasure storyline, so there's multiple plot threads being woven in here that seem to suggest that it's not as simple as like Roger wanted to stop Rox from hurting Celestial Dragons and just got in his way. There's something more there. Rodolfo, the guy who suggested, I'm pretty sure you're the guy who initially suggested the Kuma saving Luffy storyline, or taking out Luffy's pain, right? Morj, great content as always. Do you feel the Buccaneers were the one tribe killed during one of the cleansings done by the world government? Okay, so with the Buccaneers, right? I got a question. Do you guys think that Whitebeard is a Buccaneer? And secondly, do you think that Blackbeard is a Buccaneer? Do you think Blackbeard might be a Buccaneer? Because Blackbeard looks really physically huge at this point. I don't know. I think that's an interesting possibility. As for, so, like, I'm not sure if the Buccaneers were eliminated entirely, but I definitely think that they were a tribe that was heavily targeted by the world government, for sure. But not necessarily to be wiped out, because a lot of them seem to like the Buccaneers as slaves. Mr. NK, thanks for the 5. Sorry I'm late, Morj. Did we talk about how Thriller Bark could be God Valley? I don't remember if that's come up here already. Both are not Buccaneers. I think it'd be interesting if Blackbeard is a Buccaneer, just because it adds to his story, his history. This is the one thing I don't like about the whole Buccaneer inclusion. I'm sure it'll be interesting lore-wise, but it's just One Piece has so many huge characters. It just seems so arbitrary to say that, yeah, one is a race, but then the others are just big humans that are exactly the same size and function exactly the same way, you know? So, I don't know about that. But as for Thriller Bark being God Valley, I mean, God Valley has those iconic cliffs. Thriller Bark doesn't have those iconic cliffs. But so many of the Rocks pirates made their way over to Thriller Bark as zombies, right? So I would guess personally that more... I don't know if Thriller Bark is literally God Valley, but it would be cool. It's like God Valley disappeared. It's like, what do you mean it disappeared? It's like, well, some pirate literally fucking stole the whole island. Moria just stole the whole island. That'd be funny. Maybe God Valley's Thriller Bark's a part of God Valley or something like that. I don't know if it's the full island though. Fodder for Hire, thanks for the 6. More JoJo. I have a feeling God Valley will be told from the point of view of the people involved in it piece by piece. What do you think? I mean, it looks like that, but I hope that we get one that's a bit more bit more in depth. Um, like I would really like to, yeah, because the problem is that if we hear it from Garp, right? If we hear it from Garp, then we're not going to get the perspective of what really happened with Roger and Rox before that a year ago, unless Garp was also at whatever that incident was, right? So honestly, I want to see the story of God Valley the most from Roger's perspective, because Roger's being portrayed as having gone through a sort of hero's journey with this whole thing, right? Experienced something, like some shit went down for him like a year prior, right? He has been, since then, that's been weighing heavily on him, right? And now at this God Valley incident, he's coming up against what is known to be his, like, established to have been his greatest foe, Rox, right? And Roger is going to get in his way for some specific reason, and it sounds as though this time Roger succeeds in a certain way in which he didn't a year ago. So I would love to hear it through Roger's eyes, or see it through Roger's eyes, sorry, but it's hard to imagine how we could get that. So to me, Garp would be the next best thing. Gilfie Lindahl, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 2 months. Morj, if you had to pick a least favorite arc in One Piece, what would it be? If I had to pick a least favorite arc. For me it would be Wano. But it's a little complicated because it's like I'm judging Wano more so based up because like I hold it to the standard of other huge One Piece arcs, you know what I mean? Like I'm comparing Wano to Enies Lobby, Marineford, like the big ones, right? Dressrosa, Whole Cake Island, etc. So I'm not really like, if I'm like, okay, Wano versus Reverse Mountain, obviously I find Wano more enjoyable to read versus Reverse Mountain, but in terms of what it is, Wano is the most disappointing arc for me. Just in terms of every category. Themes, narrative structure, character writing, dramatic storytelling, tension, yada yada yada, right? So it depends the context you're looking at it in. Oh, okay, now this makes sense. Do you think that Kuma thinks that Dragon equals Joy Boy? I misread that for a second. I think that Kuma thinks that Luffy is Joy Boy, right? Because it's just the sacrifices that he made for Luffy and his crew, guarding, like Kuma guarded the ship for 2 straight years, right? I feel like there's got to be something a little extra there that he's committed to specifically Luffy for. But we won't really know till we get a little bit more perspective on him and Dragon's relationship. Oh, people are flipping out about the Wano thing. Yeah, I mean, like, okay, again, if that, like, if I were to say pure enjoy, like, I definitely enjoy Wano more than, again, like a short arc like a Davy Back fight or a Reverse Mountain, so keep that in mind. But I don't really compare, like, I put arcs in different categories, so by the standards of what other major One Piece arcs like Alabasta, Enies Lobby, Marineford, etc. do well, writing wise, Wano is just, like, critically you would say it's worse in pretty much every category that you would evaluate a story in terms of how it constructed its themes, in terms of the narrative structure or lack of narrative structure, in terms of its character writing, in terms of general dramatic writing, meaning tension, emotional focus, etc. basically. So just across the board for me, Wano's the most disappointing in that aspect. Vartuni, welcome to Yonko. Thank you for joining. Look out for the podcast coming out this Friday. Turtle Barks back. Thanks for the 2. Oh no, we covered that. Oh, I missed this one. Fodder for Hire says, no, we covered this one. John678, what do you think was the crown jewel of Hachinosu? That's something for next week. That's not for right now. I think it's either an ancient weapon or the Luffy egg. Interesting, we don't see it on the Oro Jackson. I'm curious as to ancient weapon is the tricky thing, because I'm just like, if it's Uranus, it feels more like the world government would have had Uranus for a while, right? It's not just because of the raid failing. I think anybody who's followed my streams for a long time is aware of this. The raid failing was always my argument for, like, this is how the arc could be saved. Because right now it's got no narrative structure, no tension. If the raid fails, maybe this could all be saved. But, like, if you take that away, I'm just like, well, then we're just reading an arc with none of this stuff. So, it's the other way around. It's not like, oh, I dislike Wano because the raid didn't fail. It's like, Wano's going a certain direction. Maybe it could be saved if the raid failed. Okay, that didn't happen, so Wano's just the way it is. People get it a little bit backwards, but if you watch my previous streams, etc., you know I've been fairly consistent about that. Cutloaf, thanks for the 2. Did you catch Struce? I didn't even see Strucin. Am I crazy? Where's Strucin? He's so tiny, I wonder where would he even fit? I literally don't see Strucin. Are you sure you see Strucin? Oh, is he the dude with the big knife that's like the big sword that's basically the size of him? Shark says, to be fair, Morj, you said there's no way the raid will succeed. It wasn't a maybe lol. Yeah, because I was that confident about Oda's writing. Like, once we'd reached a certain point, I was just like, there's no way. There's no way that we would just get an arc that's like this. I had so much faith in Oda's writing. I was like, yeah, there has to be a midpoint to the arc. That was my view on it. Like, I was 100% confident that the raid would fail, things would swing back, we would get some, some thematic writing, we would get some dramatic tension, we would get a narrative structure, a sort of flow, a hero's journey, all of these things that you see in all the other arcs. That was how confident I was in it. Like, I had that much faith in Oda's writing. So I've learned my lesson since then, which is just like, okay, just you never know. You never know. Sometimes an author's just got to move on to the next arc, and it's just the way it is. So that's the way it is. But like, just because I was very confident in the raid failing doesn't mean that like I was saying like it has to fail. Or sorry, I was never saying like basically that like I think the raid will fail, and if it doesn't, then like because my theory's wrong, the arc's bad. I was saying the arc needs certain elements. At this point, the only way it can get those certain elements is this thing happening, but I believe it'll happen because I trust Oda. Didn't happen, so my views on the arc are basically what they originally were, which is just like it lacks this, it lacks this, it lacks this. Again, this is all like stuff you can easily backtrack and I've done streams every week for God knows how many months. Anybody who watches streams regularly knows I've been very consistent about my points with Wano. Mr. NK says, saw someone call Rock's crew the 2021 Brooklyn Nets. Why? Oh, because they fucked up? I was like, the Brooklyn Nets, like, the Rock's crew is stacked. How are they like the Brooklyn Nets? Oh, let's get the stream likes up to 400 real quick. Midpoint and halfway point are two different things. Every story will factually have a halfway point because you would just look at the point that's halfway through the story. That's not what a midpoint is, though. Titanium Dragon, thanks a lot. Cross CG is cross guild. Okay, I see. Oh, never mind. Also, did Big Mom run from Saturn? I don't know. I want to see the Big Mom Saturn confrontation play out, but we didn't really get the rest of that. I wonder if we will get that when we get to see the rest of God Valley. But it seems like it might have just been a throwaway. It's kind of funny that like Saturn went to bully Kuma when Big Mom's right there. It's like, why don't you pick on someone your own size, you know? The Rocks crew, I feel like they were successful long enough that I wouldn't call them the Brooklyn Nets. Lucky Man, thanks for the 5. I guess this chapter debunked the Roger defending Celestial Dragons from Rocks theory. Roger just wanted to fight Rocks. Celestial Dragons getting defended is just a byproduct. I don't know. We still need to see, because right now we've just seen. We really don't know. Like Roger was saying, stop, right? Something like that. No, he's saying hold it, Rocks. Hold it, Rocks, right? So. Is it just to fight? Like, I don't know if it was just to fight Rocks, though. Because couldn't he have fought Rocks at any time? Couldn't he have just raided Hachinosu? Why come now to this island? I feel like it has to be more related to the treasure. Because he could have gotten... If he wanted revenge on Rocks, he could have just gotten his run back on Rocks anytime he wanted. A's 96, thanks for the 5. I don't particularly care but more about Moria, but how in the actual fuck did he just casually have previous Rocks members in his zombie army? When, where, and how? Here's the thing. It's not random that Moria would have those, because Moria's whole thing was he was trying to find powerful bodies, like powerful zombies, right? So the number one source to find those things would be Rocks pirates are a great those are the most legendary pirates of the previous era. An up and coming Moria, who else's bodies would you want but the greatest pirates of your previous generation, right? Like, those are the strongest warriors of the previous generation. So I don't know, maybe God values Thriller Bark now, maybe, but the flip side is also just like Moria could have easily just tracked down deliberately where all of the former Rocks pirates went down and used their bodies, because that's what you would want to do if you're trying to find the bodies of former strong warriors to add to your army. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's not a random thing. Like, oh, how do you happen upon these? It's like, no, we knew that he was out hunting for powerful bodies, right? Like, he found ores, he found Ryuma. Yeah, he probably tried to find as many of the dead Rocks pirates as he could. He would probably try and go rob Whitebeard's grave if he could, right? I assume that that's being watched a little bit more closely because, it's Whitebeard. Gunner455, thanks for being a member for 5 months. Great content as a Yonko tier member for 5 months. Sorry. Great content as usual. Thanks, man. Both peak One Piece and Morj right now. Thank you. As Oda gives us more stuff to theorize about. Also, when is next Manga Morj? Manga Morj, it's on hold till the Wano analysis comes out. I've been saying that. That's just the way things have to be. But Wano analysis is still on the dockets. Manga Morj is hardcore on hold. Nighthawk, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for a month. Your streams are fun, but I often have to check only the VODs. I'm sorry, it's 4:30 a.m. for you at the moment. Members content is really good as well. Thank you, I appreciate that. There is a podcast that comes out every Friday for Yonko tier members. You guys can join, check that out if you like. Very enjoyable to listen to. Thank you very much. It is coming out this Friday as well. I usually record those right after, late night tonight on Thursdays. Duck20, thanks for the 5. Thoughts on Chainsaw Man? I'm starting to enjoy it, but I hope this arc has a payoff. My thoughts on Chainsaw Man are so tricky right now. It really needs a full, part 2 needs, I love part 1. I will always love part 1. But part 2, it really needs a reread for me at this moment, because I feel like, you know what changed? The pace changed rapidly. And it's like a lot of, I think the ideas of what happened, without spoiling anything, I think the ideas of the direction that he wanted the characters to go and the changes he wanted to show in society and everything like that, he sped through a phase of that extraordinarily fast, like crazy fast. Like, the pace, I think everything after, I think what I love the most about the early parts of Chainsaw Man Part 2 is that it was really taking its time and working off of the strength of its character writing, character interactions, things like that, just more subtle stuff. And then suddenly it hit a point where it's like, okay, now we have to go fast, but it was like exposition fast. Like, we need to establish a lot of, we need to kind of almost montage through an extended period of time so that society can shift in a certain way and characters can experience something and can experience that shift, but at the same time it's got to be moved through in several pretty quickly in the span of a short amount of chapters. And it's complicated to say because it does feel like a good amount of chapters, like we've been in this phase for a good amount of chapters, but at the same time it feels like the pacing has been really, really fast. Like, just not, it feels a bit rushed for what the author is going for what Fujimoto is going for. So maybe I need to reread it, feel how that feels on reread. But yeah, I'm just a little bit disappointed right now with, it's weird because I think he needed to get to the next exciting development, but that required moving really quickly through a section of the story that needed to be lingered on more and built up more. So maybe you could have thought of an interesting development to fit in there to make this section a bit more exciting, but I don't know. Polmouth, thanks for gifting 10 memberships. Holy shit, I appreciate that so much. Thank you, man. Again, coming through again. Last stream and this stream. Got some people who got to thank Polmao. Apollina Top Hat, Morio Anime, Spirit of Adventure, Fiji Tora, that's a funny name, Garrett Pizzacala, Abrar Ahmed, Nicholas Henriquez, and ZZ. Everybody say thank you to Polmao, and Polmao, thanks again for coming through and giving this nice boost to the stream. We all appreciate that. Let's get the stream likes to 400 real quick to show Polmao, I guess, how much we appreciate it. L, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 8 months. Why do you think they haven't shown Rocks? Do you think it'll spoil something? Like maybe looking like another character we already know, Buggy D Rocks. I think it's entirely possible at this point that Rocks looks like Buggy. Because the Shanks Rocks connection is now, like, at one point that was almost considered to be taken for granted by the community. Like, if you go back 1 year, almost everybody was on board with, oh yeah, Shanks will be the son of Rocks. It just makes sense. But now it's like, that seems really, really questionable. And it being Buggy would be fucking insane. So it's just like, if it's Buggy, I think that's a solid possibility. I think that he would be the first of these children of old generation characters to be way weaker than their predecessor, right? That is an interesting option. I think that not showing Rocks, I think part of it is I think there'd be 2 reasons. One might be, the visual reveal would reveal something else possibly about another character. 2 might be that Oda likes doing really strong introduction scenes for certain characters. Like, if you think through pretty much all the major villains. So I feel like Oda might not want to do Rox's character reveal in a flashback where we get almost no time, like just a quick page reveal of Rox, what he looks like, and then just move on to other shit. Especially because the focus right now should be Kuma, ultimately, first and foremost. So it's cool we get to see the Rox Pirates, but there's no surprises there, right? We see everybody that we already kind of expected to be there. Small surprises, Gloriosa. But for the most part, it's just getting to see something that all these characters that we already knew about and have seen before, and it's just cool to see them all lined up together. But once we have the Rock's the actual reveal of the captain, this major character, that really draws attention away from the rest of the chapter, I think. So those are my guesses. 1, either plot-wise it reveals something, or 2, just want to have more focus on it. Mark Zicknown, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 13 months. With the build-up, hype, and emotion that we're getting right now, this is really what One Piece is all about. Yeah, to me, this is the best that One Piece has been in so, like, I can't even tell you how long, like, consistently, week after week, it's just either great reveals, crazy reveals or plot developments, or just really, really good character writing and storylines. And the dialogue in this chapter was phenomenal, and that's really what I'm going to talk a lot about in this, in the review. I think the dialogue between Kuma and Saturn, that's probably some of my favorite messaging in One Piece. I tweeted about this. It's my favorite phrased messaging in One Piece since Doflamingo. The phrasing of it. Kuma, long-term writing-wise, has been incredible. Yeah, I can't wait to see the rest of how the rest of his storyline plays out. Solomon Vouter says, thanks for the 5. Imagine the Blackbeard pirates swoop in, capture Saturn, and use Pudding to read his memories right now. Oh, shit. That would be crazy. Yeah, I did not think about something like that. Because we've got the Pudding possibility. She can make people reveal their memories, but if they can capture, like, the characters that they could capture to use that on, if they stole Saturn, that'd be awesome. Madfish, thanks for the 20. Appreciate that quite a bit. Can you talk about how far ahead you think Oda plans things out, and does it detract from the story for you when it doesn't feel like he has? Example, feels like he would have brought up Nika in Impel Down if it had been planned. I think I really, really do believe that Nika was something that Oda planned for a long time. Maybe going all the way back to the beginning of the story. But I think that it's one of the rare instances where I think Oda is also very good at holding back information at the right points in time. But at certain because if you plant Nika and stuff too early in the story, then it kind of, even just Joy Boy, like Joy Boy was planted, in my opinion, in the story at the perfect time. Because otherwise it just detracts too much once you're showing your hand too much too early. Like, part of the beauty of One Piece was getting to slowly realize the broader lore and the broader lore. And I think it's best to understand, like, kind of like setting foundations. Like, first we needed to understand just the significance of how evil the world government is, and the struggle that pirates have had for so long trying to fight against it, and how you can't overcome the world government. How there is a will that's been passed down for a long time to seemingly to overthrow the world government, that the world government has been fearing this, etc. And just make you feel and understand the full state of the world, right? That's what Marineford did, right? Enies Lobby kind of segued us into it, and then Marineford really laid that foundation, right? Now, I'm sure at this point in time, Oda could have also dropped in a million different things. He could have name dropped Joy Boy. He could have name dropped Nika. He could have name dropped, like, so many things that we've gotten over the course of Wano, etc., right? He could have done that, but it almost, once you're doing too much information too fast, it almost lets the key foundational things you're trying to drop not sink in as much, right? So I think Oda fed us as much information about the world as we needed to know in Marineford, so to just make us understand the feeling of the general conflict and the feeling of the general oppressiveness of the world government and what needs to be fought against, and just put into perspective that all of these pirates, Yonko, etc., they are not ultimately the biggest enemy on the seas. It is this world government, things like that, right? And towards the end with Whitebeard's speech, really getting some perspective as to the will of D and what it might really mean, and just the general idea that someday a man carrying all the weight of history will go fight the world government, right? And he leaves one last tease with the Roger Whitebeard little Sakura tree moment of like, do you want to know what the will of D is, right? So all we need to really know is that Luffy is positioned to be a man who will carry out a will that's been passed down for centuries to take down the world government. Now, the details of all of that will, that's stuff that you can now begin to slowly leak to the reader over the course of Fishman Island, Zoe, Wano, all the following arcs in post-time skip. So I don't think that just because an author doesn't give you all of these details early on, that means that they didn't have it planned. However, flip side is, I think that even though Oda definitely did the right thing, in my opinion, I think it was very effective for the story, the right thing in holding back a lot of these details for effect on the reader, right? For the effect of how the lore is slowly shaping on our mind and keeping our interest building and not overwhelming us with too much. If you give them too much right away, then they're not really going to care. Like it stops holding as much meaning, because you just have all this information right away. You want to feel what it all means as you go along, and it's reflected in the story, right? In the stakes, in the conflicts, etc. But I still think that in the one area Oda might have been able to do better is having reasons in story-wise. Like, those are all out-of-story reasons to not reveal Joy Boy or Nika and stuff too early. In story-wise, it starts to become a bit weird when it's like, wait, but it's cool that you hid this from us for so long, but it almost doesn't make a little bit of sense that this wouldn't have been, mentioned a little bit earlier. Like, the Gomu Gomu no Mi being such a rare, important fruit, right? That's something that no character ever talked about or hinted at any point in the story. Like, hey, that's a fucking rare-ass, important-ass fruit that you've got right there, Luffy. I wouldn't say, like, yeah, if they talked about Nika in Impel Down, that could have been good, but I think that could have been too much too early. But there are certain things where it's just like, yeah, like, even the straw hat that Luffy carries, right? That's a prominent trademark thing of Roger, of Shanks, of the greatest pirates of the previous generations, Luffy's Gomu Gomu no Mi. These are things that it's kind of like, you also need to write in reasons why it would make sense for these things not to have been commented on, right? If you want to have it a cool reveal later, like, hey, Roger had the straw hat, that's awesome. But then it's like, you need to make it kind of make sense backwards, too. Like, why did nobody mention that, like, hey, that's Roger's fucking straw hat that you got there, So it goes both ways. But I think for the most part, Nika and all of that stuff was planned, in my opinion. King G, thanks for the 5. Roger's referencing Lodestar. It's been 1 year since he got there. Is that right? It seemed like he'd only recently gotten to Lodestar. Sorry, when he spoke to Whitebeard and Odin in chapter 966. The treasure the Celestial Dragon stole from rocks could connect to the One Piece. I hope it's something more than just a road poneglyph. Josh Nesbitt, thanks for the 5. What if Ginny is Bonnie who had her memory erased and it's sad and Kuma had to raise her as his daughter? I brought up the I mean the Ginny Bonnie stuff, it's pretty complicated now. I don't really know what to make of it. People have said clones, people have said it's Bonnie's mom, but Ginny kind of refers like she positions herself as kind of a big sister figure to Kuma. I brought up the Thriller Bark is God Valley theory last stream. Yeah, I think I could kind of remember it being brought up before, but I just still don't pay a ton of heed to it just yet, because it's like Moria could also have just gone out and found the corpses of all of these Rocks pirates at different points, because that's kind of what he does, right? He's just a gravedigger looking for the strongest pirates' bodies, or strongest warriors' bodies. Ramen Stains, thanks for the 5. Hey Milk, I think it's possible that Moria specifically targeted the corpses of Kaido's former crew, given their past. Moria specifically targeted the corpses of Kaido's former crew, given their past. Yeah, that's exactly what I've been saying. Because it's just, why wouldn't you, right? If you're looking for strong bodies to build a zombie army, you would just go to the strongest pirates of the previous era, right? Tomahawk PWPT, thanks a lot. So the Roger perspective, gotta get it from Rayleigh then? Yeah, we could just get it from Rayleigh. It's just like, Rayleigh's so... He's kind of detached himself from everything, you know? He did show up to stop Blackbeard, but I kind of don't bank on Rayleigh showing up frequently in the story in the future, just because I feel like he almost has done... You know, he gave us already so much exposition about Roger right at Sabaody. He trained Luffy. You know, in my mind, I'm like, I feel like Rayleigh's almost... Like, he almost just is a really strong, important character who has no real investment or role in the story at the moment. But you're right, Rayleigh could just be the simplest, easiest answer as to what happened with Roger and Rocks in the God Valley incident and the year prior to the God Valley incident. That's definitely true. Dr. Farewell, thanks for the 5. Kuma dies, Bonnie gets fruit, and confirms Buccaneers can eat 2 devil fruits, i.e. Blackbeard. Oh, shit! Also, you dragged us, but Bogard at God Valley. I just didn't want Bogard at God Valley, because I hate the Bogard fandom. Like, the fact that Bogard is there, I will admit, I didn't personally think that Bogard would be at God Valley, but I didn't think it's crazy that Bogard's at God Valley. I just didn't like the idea, because I hate the Bogard fandom. But Bogard made it to God Valley. It makes sense. Yeah, Bonnie being a Buccaneer, so in that case, Blackbeard being a Buccaneer would fit, right? Because that's just, it just makes sense. You're able to, like, that's the odd thing about your body, that you're able to eat two fruits. Cloaksies, thanks for the 5. Kid Kuma surviving an attack that left post Wano Sanji leaking. Okay, let's not get into that. Buccaneers greater than lame number 4 Jirma genes confirmed. It's not... This is not worth addressing. Omarua, thanks for the 2. Sanji will be at least Marco level by the end. God damn it. He will be a lot stronger. Fuck off. He'll be a lot stronger than Marco level. Come on now. Hazard and Gibson, thanks for the 5. Hey Morjo, obviously God Valley is important that we revisit it 3 times. Is this really the 3rd time? Or are you saying that we will revisit it 3 times? This is just the 1st time, right? You think Rocky Port is the same. It's connected as it involves Hachinosu and Ochoko. Rocky Port, I guess at some point we'll get the breakdown, but I don't think it's nearly as important as God Valley. Tala, thanks for the 7. Wings have always fought same rank enemies. Yeah, I like that you're referring to them as wings just to call them a duo there. How would Zoro fight another enemy after Mihawk, putting him a tier /2 above Mihawk, but Sanji won't be Yonko level? I think it's just complicated, man. Some people think that Zoro will never fight another enemy stronger than Mihawk. I think that that's weird. I just think that the final opponent Zoro fights will be stronger than Mihawk in some way, right? Not necessarily a stronger swordsman, but he could be a stronger character overall. But maybe not. Maybe Mihawk is the strongest character Zoro fights. But look, I don't know. I don't know. Vandal Cabbage 72. Thoughts on Big House 11 Nintendo situation? Oh, the Nintendo situation. So the tricky thing is, Nintendo's done shit in the past that has really, um, been a man been a problem. This seems more extreme than before. Initially, when it came out, I was like, this isn't a big deal because this happens once in a while with Nintendo and nothing ever really changes. But this one seems like more of a big deal. Big House 11 was awesome because Cody's been my favorite player for a little bit now. Before it was Mango. I've shifted away a little bit from being a Mango fan, I suppose. So Cody was my favorite player, and I wanted Cody to win. So seeing him go on that run, it was one of the most satisfying tournament runs I've seen. It was so much fun watching Big House, and it actually got me excited about Melee again. I haven't been excited about Melee in like a year, like a while. So that was cool, but yeah, Nintendo, that's a real damper. But on the flip side, I'm hearing some things that it's not as bad as it sounds, and it actually might be an avenue to get more licensed tournaments. So this one I'm just gonna wait and kind of see before jumping to conclusions. DuckDuck20, thanks for the 5. Nika was foreshadowed with shit ton of sun symbolism we got for Luffy. The only problem was that it was a mythical fruit. The foreshadowing, are you like? I've talked about this before in videos, which is just like there's two ways you can look at foreshadowing. There's foreshadowing, which is like, oh, it shows that the author was aware of it, and yeah, Luffy had a lot of sun symbolism, so the author was obviously, and like it's clear to the reader too that there's a lot of sun symbolism around Luffy if you're paying attention. But the idea, like, that's a huge jump to, oh, there's this god of liberation that like sings and dances and it's like filled with joy and all that stuff called Nika that's worshipped by all these cultures or whatever. Oh, and that's what the Goma go. Like, it's a huge drastic jump. So I'll never say that Nika itself as a concept. Like, the fact is, if before the Who's Who chapter, right, before the Who's Who chapter, there was literally there's not a single reader you could have asked in the world that would have been like, oh yeah, Oda's totally foreshadowed the idea of a warrior god of singing, dancing, and liberation and stuff who comes to free slaves and shit. There's not a single reader in the world who would have ever said that. There's not a single theory, single post, single video, anything like it's just not there in the story, right? Some people might have picked up on like, hey, the sun god is something that's mentioned once in a while in the story. If you go back and look at some of my videos talking about the Dawn in One Piece, the Dawn of One Piece analysis, I talk a lot about the sun and references to a sun god throughout One Piece. But the concept of Nika itself, that's fucking out of the blue. There's no way to spin that. Most likely because Oda probably felt like it would be too big of a hint to have something like that spelled out earlier. So I dislike the fact that it was ultimately introduced literally in the middle, like Luffy's major secret power-up was introduced in the middle of his final battle with the opponent. Again, the analogy I draw is like, it would be like if Goku's fighting Frieza, and then in the middle of Goku's fight with Frieza, like Vegeta explains the concept of a Super Saiyan, and then right after that, Goku goes Super Saiyan. I think it's a bit like the legend of a Super Saiyan's explained. Right after that, Goku attains the legendary Super Saiyan. I think that's kind of silly. And that is essentially what happened in One Piece, with arguably a bit more foreshadowing, but still there's a huge gap of exposition that needed to be, like, gap in terms of layers of exposition that needed to be laid before a Nika transformation would have really made sense. But it is what it is. Oda wanted to hold on to the surprise longer, and I still like Gear 5th. It's just too cool to really care about, I think, at this point. Virgil Hawkins, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 13 months. Did you read all of Culling Game after Heavyweight Fight? No. How would you rank the It's Always Sunny main cast favorite to least favorite? Oh, that's a great question. Dennis is my favorite by far. Dennis is hilarious. Most of my favorite It's Always Sunny moments are or episodes, etc. Like, a lot of it is Dennis based. I just find the humor that you get out of Dennis, it just takes the show to such a dark and like unique place that you really don't see from other live action sitcoms. After Dennis, I'd say D, then Charlie, then Frank, then Mac. I generally don't find Mac that funny. I sometimes find Frank funny. I know everybody loves Charlie. I'm kind of hit or miss with a lot of Charlie's humor. And D is really consistently funny. I think just a little underrated. Monthly reminder to check out Haikyuu and Witch Hat Atelier. I actually still have those tabs open or Witch Hat Atelier. I have the tab open. I have tabs open for what you guys told me to read. So I've got Kaiji here. I've got Kakegurui here. I've got Dandadan here. Yeah, I've got some tabs open, and I've got Witch Hat Atelier. So I'll look at those later. Cream Team, thanks for the 10. A little tinfoil, but anyone else think Luffy's laugh style being different in Gear 5th is foreshadowing for something? I mean, some people, I've seen some people throw around the idea that, like, you know, it just, Luffy could go into a totally different personality state if the fruit just takes over him, but I don't think that'll be the case. I think it's just Oda exaggerating Luffy's already fun-loving, goofy nature. The fruit just exaggerates it a bit, I think. Batman for real, thanks for the 2. Thoughts on Selo? 120 days of Sodom. I don't know what that is. I know what Sodom is. Like, I don't know what Salo is. What's Salo? What is this? Oh, I've never seen this movie. I didn't know it's a movie. I thought you were recommending a manga. I was like, that seems like a really out there concept for a manga. This is old. Is this Italian? Yeah, it's Italian. Who's it by? Who's the director? Pier Paolo Pasolini. I've never seen this. I've never heard of this. Alright, I will keep this tab open as well to check out at some point. The only one he's going to read is Fire Punch. I don't have Fire Punch open. I'll probably... Let me open up Fire Punch. Maybe I don't have it open just because I'm not going to forget to read that, you know? I'll read that at some point. I think Dennis gets funnier over time, is the thing. Like, early seasons, it's not the same, and then at some point, probably once the Dennis system stuff kicks in. Jake Cash, thanks for the 2. What was the treasure on Beehive spoken by Garp? Yeah, we don't know, but watch out for next week's video. Tom, thanks for the 5. Ginny could be Bonnie's mom, and Kuma took care of her after Ginny died. Love the content. Yeah, adoptive parents in One Piece is a really big thing, so I wouldn't find that would make a lot of sense. Love the content. Read/watch Kaiji. It's so good. Please, yay Morj. I have that tab open right now, but I have not started reading it. A's96, thanks for the 5. Do you think the 4 gods that Enel mentioned could be some of the fruits in God Valley? What? 4 gods Enel mentioned could be some of the fruits in God Valley. Enel mentioned the sun god, and look how that... I think 4 gods mentioned by the Shandians. Yeah, it'd be cool if there's other god fruits, but it sounds as though consistently the sun is what's talked about across different cultures, so I imagine the sun god is probably a bit more important. But I've also talked about the possibility of like a Verth god, like an earth god in other videos. Taka Di Fraca says, think Kaido beat Moria so that he can't take more members? I think that was just a good old-fashioned, like, fight. Like, Moria came to Wano Country, maybe because he knew that there's strong bodies that he could take from there. Kaido fucked him up. But Moria stole a body anyway, so it's a win-win. Nurgangi, thanks for the 2. Paw Fruit didn't give Kuma bear ears, right? No, it did. No, it didn't. It didn't. L, thanks for the 2. Who you think are the God Valley matchups? There's a whole stream that you should check out from last week where we go over that, and chat votes on that. I would recommend checking that out. Check out the last stream. SMX Wing, thanks for the 2. Brooke did say Thriller Barkland was from the West Blue. That's a big deal. Maybe it is God Valley. Let me run a poll for you guys. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Is Thriller Bark God Valley? Wait. How do I phrase this? Yeah. Is Thriller Bark God Valley? Yes, no. Curious what you guys think. Kenneth Mitchell asked about the crown jewel. Thoughts on the crown jewel taken from Hachinosu. Again, next week's video. Just wait for next week's video. I'll give you my full thoughts on that. Capper, thanks for the 5. Wasn't the treasure taken from Hachinosu Kaido's fruit? That's why Big Mom said she would get it. Kaido said it'd be useless for her, and she stopped Eva. I think Kaido was generally referring to. I feel like they were talking about the fruits in general, not that one in particular. Because there's a lot of devil fruits up for grabs. Like Kaido's saying, any fruit, like the devil fruits will be like. She says it'll all be mine. Kaido's saying it would be pointless in your hands, Lilin. I feel like it's specifically not specifically one fruit necessarily. She's talking about fruits in general, maybe. Okay. So most people don't really think that Thriller Bark is God Valley, but I still see the possibility. I just lean more towards, it would explain why God Valley's not around anymore. Moria literally packed it up and took it away. But the mountains aren't there anymore. Maybe the mountains were destroyed in the battle. If we're playing with the idea, like maybe the mountains were destroyed in a battle. Maybe the reason God Valley's not there anymore is because Moria hauled it away. But it would have had to have been very recently after the fight, right? At the same time, I just lean towards simpler answers. Maybe just Moria hunted down Rock's pirates, like dead bodies after they were killed. Varp TM, thanks for the 10. Whitebeard in youth in God Valley. Stussy has seen top tiers in action. Weevil is boosted by this Stussy. Would know Whitebeard's strength better than anyone. Green Bull off-screens this character. What to make of this? Okay, so you're basically saying, so piecing this together. You're saying that Weevil is like Weevil is legitimately really strong, right? Like Stussy seems to think. Well, I don't think Stussy thinks that Weevil's literally as strong as Whitebeard necessarily. She's just like pushing that idea, I don't think Weevil is literally the same strength as young Whitebeard. It's just more so like a young Whitebeard. And also it's just like, what age Whitebeard are we even talking about? Like, is it this young Whitebeard or like young Whitebeard, like Whitebeard in his teens or something like that, right? Like we don't even know what age Whitebeard are you comparing it to. Patagonia is asking, who do you think is a Garling EOS fight? I think the two options are either Shanks or Dragon. It's weird because like Dragon is the one that makes the most sense in terms of roles in the story, because the God's Knights are being assembled to go hunt down the revolutionaries. God Knight, Figarland Garling he fights for the Celestial Dragon side. Dragon's trying to overthrow them, so that clash just seems to make sense. Like they're the leaders of the two contrasting groups right now, revolutionaries versus God's Knights. But at the same time, like father-son, Shanks versus Garling, that's another option. So I don't know. Chris Aroha, thanks for the 5. How probable is it that Rox was the last Gum Gum Fruit user, explaining his erasure from history? I think that there's a few options, right? I think that the Rox being a Gum Gum Fruit user would be awesome. I think that would be fucking awesome if he's the last Nika Fruit user. I think him being the Yami Yami fruit user, the previous one of that, would also be really, really great. So I think those are two pretty cool options. Even just being a really strong hockey user, that'd be cool, but we've got so many of those at this point. I'd rather him have a fruit as well to mix it up. So I really like that idea. I've always been ever since we kind of learned more about the Goma Goma no Mi and everything, I've kind of been like either Rox is a Yami Yami fruit user or a former Goma Goma no Mi user. I like both those ideas. Paul Martin, thanks for the 5. Where does Yuruj fit into all this? Final Saga and all this lore. I think the fact that Yuruj is from the sky is important, and maybe Oda's saving that a little bit because the sky will just be more relevant. History of where certain characters came from, etc. will be more relevant, and Yuruj is just being saved for that. I don't know. But the sky has always been important in One Piece. Oh, is Paul Martin, is this your first super on a live stream? That's what YouTube's telling me. If so, congratulations and thank you. Congratulations. I don't know what you're... Thank you for donating. I appreciate it. B is asking, is Rox a failed Joy Boy? I do think that fits a lot of Rox's persona that we've been getting so far. The idea that he's a revolutionary that was flawed in some fundamental way. MD says Rox was to Roger what Ace was to Luffy. I don't know if we're getting... I feel like I don't want to force parallels too much. If I had to, I would say, Rox fits Blackbeard to Luffy more than any Ace to Luffy, certainly. James Halder, thanks for the 5. Haven't watched a stream or been on Twitter in like a month in fear of Jujutsu Kaisen spoilers. That's funny. It's good because I did accidentally spoil people, which I've apologized a lot for because I still feel bad about it. Like, I did spoil many people about Jujutsu Kaisen, a major development on it in a stream. Feels good to be back. Also, best chapter in a while, in my opinion. And that is a very high bar, by the way. There's been so many great chapters. Like, I feel like each chapter has had an argument for best chapter in a while. Caleb Brown says, whose bitch boy is Caribou? Blackbeard or Morgan's? I still think Blackbeard. I think Blackbeard is the easy option. I think it also just makes sense because the Blackbeard pirates are near the island right now. So a lot of pieces would kind of connect there. You could have them run into Caribou. Caribou tells them where the ancient weapons are located, sets up plot stuff for the future. I think that'll be good. Caleb, cool guy. Thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 6 months, man. Do you think Oda has anything planned endgame for Chopper besides like maybe fighting Doc Q and curing every disease? You took basically the two options that I think Chopper is going to cure a major disease of Luffy's. One thing that people have talked about that is interesting is so the devil fruit that it seems like Saturn has is the Uchi on like Uchi. It's some sort of thing that in Japanese. I should look it up. I shouldn't just speak. What is it? Uchi Oni. Uchi Oni. It's supposedly venomous or something, right? Supposedly venomous. I don't know. So I'm kind of throwing out what I've read about it previously. I'm not going to look through all the details, but supposedly it's venomous in some way or something like that. If that's the case, then it would be interesting because Luffy would probably fight Saturn right now, and Saturn was the Gorosei that was at God Valley. So if Oda wanted to do this, he could do something like Saturn was the one who infected Roger with some deadly disease, and then Saturn will do that again to Luffy here, and then from there, Luffy would need Chopper to cure him, whereas Roger had no one that could really cure him because, Roger just didn't have anybody that good at that point in time. No disrespect to Crocus, but was Crocus like the first? Never mind. That would be interesting, but then it would also beg the question, like, well, then why did Roger live for like another 40 years or like 20 years or something like that, whereas Luffy's life would be in danger right away? You could maybe attribute that to Luffy already shortening his lifespan quite a bit, but I don't know. I like the idea of Chopper curing a disease for Luffy. Like, I think that could be a really big deal, but I don't know besides that and fighting Doc Q, I don't know what else Chopper would really do. Madfish, thanks for joining the Yonko. Look out for a podcast literally tomorrow. Extended weekly podcast. Extended Thoughts weekly podcast. Oh, let's get the stream likes up to 500. We're almost at 500. Holy shit. Caleb, cool guy. Thanks for being No, we covered this. just talked to you. Dick so Dick so small, I piss on... Oh, wait, hold on. I gotta refresh to see the whole title. Dick so small, I piss on my balls said, in the panel where Kizaru grabs Usopp, Usopp is looking right at Luffy. I see a throwback to Enies Lobby where Usopp snaps at Luffy, but this time he's right. I think the panel where Kizaru is holding Usopp, I feel like it's just treated as a rather minor panel. Like, I don't view it as a very dramatic throwback if that's what Oda was going for. So maybe, but it could also just be coincidental. Miss Super from Chunky TV? Not on my watch. Thanks for letting me know. Chunky YT. My bad. Chunky YT, thank you very, very much. Thanks for the 10. Hi, Morj. I can sense that you want to talk about basketball right now, so let's. I do want to be watching the Suns Lakers game, but I actually have a lot of work to finish even after this, so I'm probably not going to get to watch any of it. Who is coming out of the East? Don't say the Bucks. And who's coming out of the West in your expert opinion? Oh, and Free Ja. I got nothing to say about Ja. That guy is dumb as fuck. But I'll say very quickly so we don't derail too much, because on such a hype chapter I can't derail by talking about basketball. But I can derail slightly. I'll just say real quick. Who's coming out of the East? Oh, I can't say the Bucks. If I can't say the Bucks, then I don't fucking know, because I feel like it's just gonna be the Bucks. If it's not the Bucks, then it's just gonna be the Celtics or the Heat again, man. I don't believe in any of the up and coming East teams, so I think it's just gonna be either the Celtics, the Heat, or the Bucks, and I don't believe in the Sixers. Who's coming out of the West? I do think that the Suns are a lot more dangerous than people think. Coming out of the West, I would guess either the Nuggets or the Suns, personally. Sabian Rob, thanks for the 5. Sup, Morj? Do you think Rox and Roger had camaraderie or strictly enemies? From the dialogue, it sounds like they met before. From the dialogue, I really feel... And Roger just talking about this 1 year thing, and it seems like they're both in pursuit of maybe the same treasure. I really feel like they had a dynamic and a history. And I feel like Roger might have previously lost to Rox in some fashion, some format. Some context, sorry. I don't know if they're, like, hated enemies necessarily, but definitely I feel like they're not friendly rivals like Luffy and Kid. I don't know. I don't know what it would be necessarily. Like, it could just be one of, like, maybe Luffy and Crocodile. Luffy really fucking hated Crocodile initially, and he still does, but it's not like... I don't think it's like Luffy and Blackbeard where it's that personal. It's just they don't like each other. I don't know. It's hard to come up with a... It's hard to come up with a comparison with Luffy, just because Luffy, his personality type is to kind of often be like... He doesn't really clearly hold grudges for that long of a time. Like, Blackbeard and Akainu are two of the only characters that he still really holds a grudge. But he was still upset to see Crocodile at Impel Down and still didn't want to work with him at all and was still clearly pissed at him. So, it's hard to say, but Luffy's just not that... He's a weird personality type, so it's hard to compare any of Luffy's dynamics with like, what Roger might experience with the Rocks. John678, thanks for the 5. Do you think the reason Roger went for the One Piece because of something that happened / he realized in God Valley, like inheriting the Will of Rocks? Bogard lives. God damn it, Bogard fans. Like inheriting the Will of Rocks. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a revelation that he gets in God Valley, but there's a long gap between now and like the time of Lodestar Island. So maybe Roger did realize something at God Valley, and then he spends the next 20 years really, like, hitting every island he possibly can, finding poneglyphs and stuff, all of it leading him to Lodestar, because he knows that there's something bigger he has to find. And then from Lodestar, he goes on the next leg of the journey, actually collecting the road poneglyphs or whatever, and then getting to wherever One Piece is. I think that's definitely possible, because Roger and Rox both clearly know something, you know? And maybe Rox knows more than Roger does at this point, but Roger learned something on God Valley. It's hard to say. JPrez P, thanks for the 5. Do you think Kuma sent Kaido away from God Valley, which is why Big Mom was looking for him? That'd be funny if Kuma just poofed Kaido away. I don't think that that's what happened, because I think that Kaido ultimately, he references the fact that pirates will, like, abandon you or, like, leave you or something like that when things go south. So he must have been around for the collapse of the Rocks Pirates at God Valley, I think. Wrench Dodger says lost 200 people talking about basketball. Yeah, that's like, you know, when a stream is dwindling down, you can talk about basketball, but not like when we're talking about chapter 1096. That's kind of crazy. Diaco Boy says y'all need to stop disrespecting the Nuggets. It's not disrespecting the Nuggets. It's just more like I think Jokic is the best player in the league. I think the Nuggets system is really really tight. I think Jokic and Murray have like the best two-man dynamic in the league. It's just that other teams are more talented. So you'd kind of like it's ultimately like it's hard to keep betting on. Like I wouldn't be surprised if the Nuggets still just beat all the other teams because they've just got a better team and right like a better system and they've played together a long time and like they've got the best player and stuff like that. But it's not surprising. Like at a certain point, you're like, okay, they might just get out talented by another team. That's all I gotta say. Wade Turner says he ran. Yeah, I think that's kind of what happened. Wait, Lodestar was the year prior to God Valley? That was explicitly said in the Roger flashback? Am I what? Lodestar was prior to God Valley? What? I have my dates completely wrong. Lodestar was the year prior to God Valley. Are you crazy? Or am I crazy? One of us is crazy. Let's take a look. Chapter 1066. Oh, no. 966, my bad. 966. Let's see. It all started 13 years ago. When we landed at the destination of the final log post where no one ever... Wait. Okay, someone backtrack timeline for me. 13 years before that... So 13 years ago was 1 year before... 13 years before that was 1 year before God Valley, is that right? Duck20, thanks for the 5. You can replace Murray with a bum, and Jokic bum would have the best two-man dynamic. I think that there is something to be said. I agree that Murray might be overrated, but I think that there's something to be said for just the amount of time that Jokic and Murray have played together. I think that like that's just something that naturally like chemistry and just instinctive awareness of what your teammate is gonna do. That doesn't matter, you know. So I give credit to that. I think you could arguably put in. You could put in Roger met Whitebeard 26 years. No, whoever said that is crazy. So, okay. Roger... How many years does Roger journey with Odin? Can someone answer that? We can backtrack this. How many years did Roger journey with Odin? He had Odin for 1 year, found One Piece 25... Okay. Hard Rocker 2121 says he has Odin for 1 year. Okay, so... Odin for 1 year... Okay, the way you phrased it is difficult. 13 years before that scene would be 39 years ago. Since that scene was 26 years ago. Because 1, then 5 for Odin dancing. Yeah, so you got 5 years of Odin dancing. Wait, what? 13 years before that scene would be 39 years ago. So Mark Hogan saying 13 years before that scene would be 39 years ago, since that scene was 26 years ago. Guys, I think Mark Hogan's onto something, right? Mark Hogan's onto something then, right? Can someone clarify? Can someone confirm Mark Hogan's timeline? Anybody? Okay, let me actually pull it up. Let me pull up the One Piece wiki. I hate having to do this because sometimes I don't even trust the One Piece wiki, you know, because it'll just be something incorrect. King G says I literally said this in my super chat, and I'm sorry if I probably didn't believe you at the time, but I needed a breakdown. One Piece Roger. Let's just look up Roger's history first, okay? So, Roger. Okay, I'll share it with you guys. That might mess up the stream. I actually don't have Ethernet in right now. The reason is complicated. It'll be back next stream. Okay, approximately 38 years ago. 28 years. Okay, 27 years. Okay, hold on. This timeline is fucking terrible. It does not say what. It does not. Okay. Okay, so. First. Okay. What year does he run into Roger? Or sorry, run into Whitebeard. It doesn't. Why does it not say how many years ago they ran into Whitebeard? Okay, around a year later. Okay, 27 years ago, he was approached by Shiki. 27 years ago, Roger was approached by Shiki. Okay? And then 1 year later, so 26 years ago, he ran into the Whitebeard pirates. So 26 plus 30. It is 39 years ago. It is 39 years ago. It is 30. I'm not looking at the timeline. I'm looking at Roger's story. It is 39 years ago. Holy shit! It happened at Lodestar Island. It's 39 years. Who all was saying Mark Hogan was wrong? I think I was. I think I was saying it. But Roger ran into rocks at Lodestar Island. Holy shit! Congrats, Mark Hogan, and congrats. Who else was it? Who was the person who initially super chatted it? That I didn't believe. King G. Yeah, good job, you guys. It is 39 years ago. Because 26 years ago was when Roger had his encounter with Whitebeard. Minus another 13 years from that. 39 years ago, Lodestar Island. Damn. Big revelation. How come more people aren't talking about this? Yeah, good job, Mark Hogan. You convinced all of us. All right. That's pretty cool. So Roger and Rox fought at possibly... Okay, might be getting ahead of ourselves here, but they might have fought at Lodestar Island. What does Roger say here exactly? It all started 13 years ago when we landed at the destination of the final log post, where no one had ever reached before, a place called the Lodestar Island. But why is he talking as though he was the only one who got there? I'm not going to share anything. It's a chapter stream. It's too risky to share anything on my screen with you guys, but I'm reading what Roger was telling Whitebeard, right? So Roger told Whitebeard, it all started 13 years ago, aka 1 year before God Valley, when we landed at the destination of the final log post, where no one had ever reached before. So implying that Roger and the Roger Pirates reached there irrespective of the Rocks Pirates, right? Rocks Pirates, nobody had gotten there before them. When we disembarked, giddy at what we might find, we realized that it was not the final island. The needles of the log post went haywire, refusing to point out a new destination. Okay. So that suddenly means that Roger and Rox may not necessarily have fought before. When Roger's talking about 1 year, it's complicated though. Why is he upset? Why has he been feeling a certain way for the past year? If he didn't fail in some way with this Lodestar Island thing, and why is he at God Valley now? How does that fix what he experienced at Lodestar Island? Did the Rocks Pirates get there to Lodestar Island right afterwards and fight Rocks or something like that? It's so complicated. Jake Cashes, I've been saying this all stream. I'm sorry if people have been saying this all stream, but it's a lot of things have been said all stream. And with the One Piece years that things specifically happen, I'm generally not that good at. Like, I don't, like, some people know exactly, oh, that, like, 14 years ago, that's when Law and Corazon are doing this shit or something like that. I don't know the years specifically. Because it's just like, why was Roger feeling upset about this 1 year then? What's going on from that 1 year? Mark Hogan is now saying multiple things could have happened. Lodestar and the Rocks thing could have been two separate events. That's true. That's a weird way to set it up though. Because then it's like, why make Lodestar right before that? Unless it's something like Roger learned something from Lodestar. Rox learned something separately. They collided in some way in between. Now that they both know some traces of the true history that they need to be searching for. That could make sense. That could make sense. Caleb Brown says, what if when Roger said we, he meant his crew and Rox? The phrasing really doesn't sound like that. Unless they were literally all on the same ship, which it doesn't sound like. Wrench Dodger 2000 says, Gloriosa wanted that Stone Johnson, Rox D. It is a good theory, but I don't think that that's correct. Wade Turner says, crazy theory time, Morj. Maybe Nicholas Zanda, STVS, top est established 2001 says, maybe Roger lost a childhood friend of his to Rox, like how Luffy lost his stepbrother Ace to Blackbeard. That would be cool. What if Rox killed one of Roger's crewmates? That would be cool. I mean, not for Roger, but it would just be cool in general. I mean, I like the idea that Roger and Rox have like a tempestuous past, you know? KKH's Roger is stronger than all admirals? Yeah, of course. There's no It's important to note here that when the world government, when Kong hears that the Rox pirates, so the strongest pirate crew in the world, is heading to God Valley, and the Roger pirates, I assume the second most notorious pirate crew in the world, are heading to God Valley, they don't send any admirals. They don't send any admirals. Admirals are not going to cut it. They only send Garp, which means that Garp at that point in time was basically clearly, like, clear cut, the best Marine that they had, right? MD says, you meant Rox was the friend he lost? Rox told him to stay out of his way because he likes him? Oh, you think Roger and Rox were friends once? That would be kind of cool. I think that'd be a cool story. That'd be a cool story for sure. Yeah, they send Garp and not an admiral? Yeah, because an admiral's just not going to cut it. Oh, guys, okay, I'm going to wrap the stream in a few minutes, to be honest, just because it is going a little bit late. I know I started late, but it's also just, it's getting a little late. And I'm hungry. Wrench Dodger 2000 says, Garp, top 1 government dog, galaxy impact on these hoes. Dude, Garp, he just said no. He was just chilling. It was fun to see Garp just chilling on an island. And then he rolls up into battle, like, with Conqueror's Haki coming off his fist. I wonder if Rox uses a sword. Also, I want to pull this up on stream, but I don't even understand it. So if you look at Figarla and Garling, there's a character that's behind him that I don't understand the design of at all. I literally don't understand. I can't make out this character's design. It's the most baffling design. It's on the same double page spread with Garp, Roger, both of them attacking, and you see Figarla and Garling, and then there's a character that's standing behind him with just the most bizarre design. I can't tell what the hell it is. I can't tell where his head is. It's a weird one. I guess we'll find out when we cut back to God Valley, whenever that is. Caleb Brown, thanks for the 2. What if Roger and Rox were racing to the One Piece? I guess, but it's also just like, it feels like for Roger to straight up defeat and kill Rox or whatever, I don't know. It feels like there must have been something a bit more personal at stake. I'm not sure. It might have been like true history related, some item important to that, like the world of One Piece, but I don't know about racing to the One Piece itself. Dennis Fresco, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Okay. It's a goat head demon. That's not what it looked like to me, but now I can... Okay, now I can see it. Yeah, that makes sense now. It's just the head is so low compared to where the neck is, or where it seems like the neck is, or the shoulders are. That's kind of cool. All right, guys. I'm gonna answer one more question. Abrar Ahmed says, "Yo, 2K left for 200K. Hopefully, in the next few streams, we'll celebrate 200K with everyone." Yeah, we can do a 200K celebration soon. Maybe, yeah, in the next few streams. You know what? We're close to 200K. If you guys want to go, if you guys are here in this stream right now, close to 200K subs. If you're not subscribed, I imagine most of you guys are probably subscribed. But if you're not subscribed, feel free to, as YouTubers say, feel free to go hit the subscribe button or whatever. We're very close to 200K. It would be a great milestone to hit. The JM Lou 11, thanks for the 5. Will Ivankov be labeled racist for making a comment not too dissimilar from what Who's Who said, stereotyping fishmen? We're gonna let that slide because Ivankov's literally a slave. Come on. Also, it's just true. The fishmen have really strong teeth. Nobody else can. Humans can't do that. It's. Come on. What are you supposed to say? Like, oh, that's just a thing that you broke those steel chains apart with your with your bared teeth. Nothing to see here, folks. Just some perfectly non-race-based activity. Dennis Fresco, thanks for the 6. They fought on Lodestar over a treasure. Roger's crew called dibs and fled. Rock called dibs and fled? That's funny. Rox took the treasure to Hachinosu, which is the treasure the world government took. Took the treasure to Hachinosu, which is the treasure the world government took. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that, like, that all does line up, especially with the timeline thing at this point. I don't know if Roger ran away. I feel like they're probably just defeated or something. Caleb, cool guy, thanks for the 20. And this seems like, it says it's your first super on a live stream, so I really, really appreciate that, man. Off topic, but I've been writing and illustrating a story for about 5 years now. That's awesome, and I've taken writing inspiration, writing inspo from One Piece. Inspo-wise, so inspiration from One Piece. Do you have any tips on how to hook a reader in the first couple chapters? So, any those type of questions, right? I really, really appreciate that people do often come to me with those type of things, but I just always want to caveat it with, like, I'm not like a published person or anything like that, right? So I can only speak from me as a reader and what I think works really well for me, that I really like, and then I think tends to hook people or works for people that read like why certain stories get elevated, why some don't. So I can only speak on what I have personally found interesting here, right? As a reader, that's it. As for how to hook a reader in the first couple chapters, I think that really, really, really depends on what type of story that is, because there's a huge difference, in my opinion, if you're writing like a fantasy versus a serious, like, personal dramatic story or something like that that's very much grounded in the real world. I really think that if you want to hook people in the first couple chapters, regardless, most likely you need to establish whatever the premise of the story is fairly quickly. Like, at least give the reader an idea of what the premise of the story is fairly quickly, and make it, like, don't take too long getting to the general gist of what the story is potentially going to be about. A series like One Piece can get away with that, but, like, on average, right, most stories that hook you, things that you're drawn into the premise of what it's going to be like fairly quickly, right? That's the easiest route. And then I think just characters, if you can write very interesting, like, characters that grab attention or stand out by the way that they act or talk or something like that early on, I think that's just going to keep anyone's interest. A's96, thanks for the 2. Use code Morj for your factor meal plan. Yes, please do. Please use code Morj for your factor meal plan. In fact, I think it's Morj50. Might be Morj50. I should know it off the top of my head. But you can look under any Morj video, or some Morj video sponsored by Factor you can look under. But yeah, usually it's like Morj. Fuck. Where's recent Factor video? It's Morj 50 or something like that. Morj 50 or Morj 65 or something like that. just look under the description of one of the recent Morj videos. Fading Phase, thanks for the 5. Good afternoon, Morj. Last week's comment about how Kuma... Why are you bringing this up? Last week's comment about how Kuma's mom was raped to death was so random. Yeah, we're just not going to talk about that again. I'm getting ready to close stream on this. Dennis Fresco, thanks a lot. Rayleigh in 1096 says to Roger to notify this time. To not flee this time. Oh, I see what you're saying. Let me check that again. Let me check that again. Let me check that again. Rayleigh just says this looks rough. What do you mean he says don't flee this time? Doesn't he just say this looks rough? That's what I'm reading. Hold it, rocks. You're in my way, Roger. I just see Rayleigh saying this looks rough. Yeah, I don't see Rayleigh talking about, like, don't run away. Great Piece says, is Factor good? Factor is genuinely good, by the way. Like, I'm not joking about that. Factor food does taste... It's definitely better than any... Like, you can feel the difference in quality between Factor and any, like, fast food takeout that you would get. Like, Factor... When you're eating Factor, it tastes like a real meal. You have to pick things that you actually like, though. Because, like, it gives you a lot of options for menu options and everything like that, but... you do need to tailor it a little bit. So, like, I don't like pork that much, so I kind of, like, you got to sift through a little bit what you like and don't like. So I usually just get chicken meals when I get Factor. Dennis Fresco says, sorry I meant Scopper. Scopper is saying don't call dibs this time. No using the captain card to call dibs this time. So that's not talking about running away. That's, like, Roger actually, like, claimed the best opponents last time, not ran away. All right, guys. I do have to call stream now just because it is getting a little bit late. And I'm hungry, so I will talk to you guys later. But yeah, this was a great chapter, and the best part is it keeps going next week, so we got another chapter of this coming up. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody.